you said something very interesting. No matter what number you're picked, far as just say the NFL, but let's just not just. I don't want to just focus on the NFL. No matter how high ranked your high school is, no matter how high ranked your college is, if you're in the top 25, if it's Power 5 D1, if it's mid-level D1, D2, or D3, it really don't matter. The question becomes is how much are you willing to invest, number one, in yourself in the area of preparation. You talked about how much discipline will you have when you start talking about your diet, and then really how much time are you willing to invest to learn the craft, not just in playing, but watching film and all those other type things, man.
What's up, student athlete world? It's your boy Lester Sanders here from Canton, Ohio, home of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And this is I Am Student Athlete.
What's good, student athlete world? Welcome to the I Am Student Athlete podcast. I am Lester Sanders, your host, and this is
Jay Keys, your co-host.
And we're coming to you straight out of Canton, Ohio, home of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. This is the podcast where we coach you to be triple-double mindset student athletes, which is to be great, number one, in the classroom, number two, on the field of court, and number three, in the game of life. So what's up, Jay? How you feeling today, man?
Man, I'm doing good, man. I ain't got no complaints, man.
No complaints, man. I ain't got nothing to complain about either, man. Just super excited to be back here for another episode of the I Am Student Athlete podcast. And I think today's topic is the TB 199 rule. Some of y'all probably think like, what is the TB 199 rule? That's the Tom Brady. He was the 199th pick in the 2000 NFL draft. Now, a lot of people would be tripping if they was the 199th pick. But looking back in hindsight, looking over his career, he truly made the most out of it at the end of the day. So let me break down what the TB 199 rule is. It is to push yourself to be the best version of yourself despite any formal rankings, picks, or recognition. I'm gonna say it again, the TB 99 rule that I came up with myself, when you got some leeway to kind of create some stuff. You might as well just dive in and create it. So this is not nothing I've seen on the internet. This is something I came up with myself. The TB 199 rule is to push yourself to be the best version of yourself despite any form of rankings, picks, or recognition. So when I was coming up with this with the TB 199 rule, I was trying to think of a way, how can student athletes, Jay, not be focused on the end results? Everybody want to be the starter, no matter what sport they're in. Every student athlete has the goal of getting to the playoffs, winning the state championship, winning the national championship, and focus on possibly even going to the league. I want to put those in the category of those are all end results. But this TB 199 rule of pushing yourself to be the best version of yourself, no matter what any form of rankings, picks, or recognition, is really about focusing on the process. Because I'm pretty sure if you sitting around on draft day, like Tom was in 2000, man, that draft party get drug out. You got to wait 199 picks before you get called. And
so that 3 days?
Yeah. Yeah. That's like a 3-day wait. You imagine he probably planned a party, most guys across the board, not just him, they didn't plan a party. They hoping they go the first day. Then if you don't go on the first day, then your people got to come back to your party on the next day. And then, so whether it's the second or third day, it's a long, long time. But when we're talking about being for student athletes that's listening, we're talking about focusing on the process, that even though you might not got picked first, or you wasn't in the first 30, the first 50, or the first 100, the question is, what is the type of work you gonna put in so that if I am not picked first, if I'm not at first round, if I don't win the state championship, if I don't make the playoffs, how do I play to be able to stand out to where if I wasn't picked first, people still talking about me?
Yeah. Tom Brady was kind of like the elementary school kid that was in gym class and didn't get picked until last for kickball. and it stuck with him for his whole NFL career.
Yeah.
I'm gonna grow up and dominate everybody.
So right off back, I'm sensing you saying, okay, even though he was picked 199th, it created a big chip on his shoulder.
For sure. I mean, it would have to, especially if you're a competitor, you know, and obviously he's a competitor because, I mean, he played at the University of Michigan. This is a cupcake conference, cupcake university. We talking about the Big Ten. So, you know, we all know that you have to have a high level of, you know, athleticism, high level of, you know, IQ, high level of ability to be able to play and receive a scholarship.
Right.
Let's start there. To receive a scholarship.
So the first thing we gotta we gotta give him credit for what was already accomplished prior to the draft.
Most definitely. Everybody ain't receiving a scholarship to go into play in the Big Ten. You know, so just to be able to get to the Big Ten,
right,
and then be able to have an opportunity to play, and then have a career, and then have a pretty good career, obviously, because he got drafted.
Right.
So,
right. Yeah, you know, I really think this topic or this focus is important because so many times athletes can get so focused on when I was picked, how I was picked, versus saying no matter when I'm picked, I'm going to set some goals for myself. I'm going to be determined, and I am going to perform and prepare. Matter of fact, let me switch the reverse of that. I'm going to prepare and perform as if I was the first pick in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people just want to get a shot. You know, as long as I can get my foot in the door, then that gives me an opportunity to prove myself. You know, where oftentimes, you know, you'll get a lot of guys, you know, that get drafted, you know, in the first round, you know, early draft picks, you know, and they think they done already got it made. You know what I mean? So sometimes, you know, the mindset, you know, isn't as focused and you aren't as sharp in regards to, you know, your craft, your work ethic, and putting in the time, you know, and continuing to get better. A lot of those guys are just oftentimes naturally, you know, better, you know, than the competition that they're playing against. You know, they're a lot more gifted. They're a lot stronger. They're a lot faster. They can jump higher. You know, they can throw a football a whole lot farther, you know. So oftentimes they neglect what it takes, you know, to perfect their craft, you know. In order
so once
to
they got there and their talent has gotten them into the league, now it's about how will you hone your skills? How will you improve your skills so that you can actually stay? Because there's a lot of quarterbacks, I guarantee you, after 22 years, they weren't nowhere near to be found, especially when your league average is 3 to 5 years at the most anyway.
That's exactly what I was about to say. You know, I mean, you're looking at a career of only about 3 to 5 years. And, you know, just to stay on topic in regards to a Tom Brady, man, I mean, shoot, he going on what, 19 years? This would be 19,
no,
20.
Hold on. This is 22 years.
22 years?
Yeah,
I mean,
because he got drafted in 2000. Right now it's 2022. He, at the end of this season, he said he was going to retire.
Right.
He had one of the shortest retirements in history.
Right.
And he right back at it. So 22 is about to turn into season 23.
Yeah, he just trying to find all kind of ways to break records, man. It just don't stop, man. So, the shortest retirement ever. You know, he once again he just set another record. So
right.
But yeah, man. But I mean, it just shows you, you know, how much he was willing to put into it. And once again, man, I mean, like when you think about him and you think about like a LeBron James and, you know, just how much they put into being physically in shape, you know, and how much they invest in their bodies and stuff like that. You know, I mean, you see like the different documentaries and stuff like that. And Tom Brady has a documentary out, you know, as well. And it shows you his work regimen. It talks about his diet and how he eats and, you know, and just how, you know, he takes care of his body so that way he could sustain that longevity. But, you know, also being a quarterback in the NFL too, you know, they put a lot of things in place to provide a lot of protection. So their quarterbacks can maintain longevity.
Right.
And, you know, we kind of know the reasons in regards to that.
Because some of the, I mean, at the end of the day, some of the rules that has been put in place over the last 5 to 10 years, quarterbacks 2-3 decades ago, they would have had to call it quits when it comes to the contact and everything.
No, for sure. For sure.
But you said something very interesting. No matter what number you're picked, far as just say the NFL, but let's just not just, I don't want to just focus on the NFL. No matter how high ranked your high school is, no matter how high ranked your college is, if you're in the top 25, if it's Power 5 D1, if it's mid-level D1, D2, or D3, it really don't matter. The question becomes is how much are you willing to invest, number one, in yourself in the area of preparation. You talked about how much discipline will you have when you start talking about your diet, and then really how much time are you willing to invest to learn the craft, not just in playing, but watching film and all those other type things, man. So
yeah, I think the ones that truly get it, you know, really understand the moment. You know, those who are willing to embrace the moment and actually build on the moment, you know, and being able to dissect the moment and get better in that moment, you know, love that moment. You know what I mean? Like those are the ones that can continue to make progress because they're taking it moment by moment and they're building momentum. You know, momentum just doesn't just automatically happen. It's a buildup, you know, it's like combustion, you know, so you just take it moment by moment, you know, and then the next thing you know, you done build up so much combustion that you're getting ready to explode. And that's what happens when you see the superstars, you know, and that's what you see when you talk about somebody like a Tom Brady. You know, he took it moment by moment, practice by practice, you know, game by game. And then the next thing you knew, he took off, you know?
Yeah, man. And you know, a common thing that I'm seeing, you know, we're in the world of YouTube and people are documenting their workout regimen. They're documenting, they're doing a lot of these a day in your lives. So when you start talking about whether it's Tom Brady, there's so many videos on Kobe's work ethic. I was watching these videos on Kevin Durant. And what's the dude for the Phoenix Suns? Devin Booker. No, Devin Booker. Yeah. You know, they got all these documentaries about and all this footage about their work ethic. Yeah. And then we know about the stuff we see on Michael Jordan. Yeah. And so one of the things I'm trying to push with many student athletes that I'm coming in contact with is, yes, there was a certain talent level that they had to be able to start and play and be a major contributor in high school. The same thing for college, the same thing in the pro. But it is that grind, that relentless pursuit of preparing and training way above average, which is allowing them to dominate the competition.
Yeah. Yeah.
And being a student athlete, you got to come to the grips and realize and say, yep, if I want to hit a certain level, there's a cost that I got to pay.
Right.
And the beautiful thing is, when we was playing ball, you didn't have all this access to footage in people's lives and the inside scoop on what you need to do outside of the work that you did, with your team and the little bit of training that we did on our own. But I think it's important to see, man, it's a lot of work that you got to be willing to put in there.
Yeah. I mean, the different levels of emotion too. Mm-hmm. You start off liking something and then it turns into a love, but then it's another level. Mm-hmm. And that next level is obsession, and that's dangerous.
Yeah.
And
there's a healthy level of that you almost got to have. But the key word is healthy, but keep going with that point about the obsession.
Yep. And those are the ones that end up becoming the superstars because they become obsessed with, what it is that they're doing. Mm-hmm. So it's like, when I'm obsessed with something, I can't get enough of it, and like I said, that can be a dangerous thing, but I'm glad you pointed out there needs to be a healthy balance. But
yeah,
how do you balance something that you're obsessed with?
Yeah. At the end of the day, I think there's a balance in everything. There's there's a balance. There's a balance even being average.
I don't know, because when you listen to pro athletes talk and the ones that are obsessed, they always say, well, yeah, now I'm going to go ahead and retire. So that way, I can spend more time with my wife and my kids. And, well, you ain't doing that now.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if something that
they saying that it ain't as much as they should.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Obsession is a whole nother level, man.
Yeah, I get it. That's like middle of Pacific Ocean deep.
Yes.
but in the context of it, that's why I'm saying there gotta be a healthy level of it, because you gotta have something that's pushing you or pulling you to put the above average work in that's needed overall to be great on any level.
Right.
And what I'm noticing is that even though the players that we named was great, but it was that extra that they did that pushed them to that level.
Yeah.
And then it's like, sometimes you don't always have to have the best stats. Like, for example, like some of these universal principles that I want student athletes to look at when we just using the Tom Brady example, but they also can see it in other athletes as well. But this is particularly to Tom. So I got here, Tom Brady was driven by being the 199th pick in the 2000 NFL draft. Tom ran a 5.1 40-yard dash. So I'm going somewhere with this. I'm going
chuckling like that's kind of slow or something.
So I'm going somewhere with this, because in a world of ridiculously fast professionals, 5.1 is actually slow. There's linemen, defensive linemen, offensive linemen that run faster. Some run faster than a 5.1.
So in the race of the tortoise and the hare, he was really the tortoise.
In the sports world, he got drafted. He was the tortoise. But I want everybody to be clear. This is not a pick on Tom stats session. I'm going somewhere with this because 22 years later, he's named the GOAT. So I'm trying to get at, no matter where you at on the 40-yard spectrum, no matter where you at on the vertical spectrum, no matter where you at on the bench press or squat spectrum, no matter where you at on height, the question becomes, what are you doing to push yourself to be great at the end of the day?
To go from tortoise to goat.
Yeah. You know, you wish you could trademark some stuff. If I had a book, I'll put from tortoise to the goat. That would be the name of the book.
That's a pretty good analogy, man.
But the thing is, so not picking on the skill set that got him drafted, but it's like he had a mindset. I don't care that I run a 5.1. I don't care that I was the 199th pick. Since I got my foot in the door, there's some stuff that I focused on year 1 through 3 that turned me into the GOAT 22 years later. Mm. So I want to really kind of let's look at, in your opinion, Jay, I'm gonna jump on it too. So what type of focus did Tom have to have, universal principles that he had to have to go from the tortoise to the GOAT?
Well, I mean, it definitely had to be detailed.
Yeah.
You know, because it wasn't too much that he could do, you know, from a physicality standpoint. Because he wasn't going to improve too much in regards to that. You know, I mean, that's something that wasn't God given.
Yeah.
You know, to
you talk about going from a 5.1 to a 4.4.
Impossible.
Right.
Impossible.
Right.
You know, so what can I do in regards to details, you know, to get my footwork right,
mm-hmm.
you know, for me to turn my hips, you know, for me to release the football a whole lot faster, you know, shoulder rotation, wrist action, you know, arm action, you know, how I'm seeing the field, you know, and analyzing things. I definitely got to know the defenses, you know, from top to bottom. You know,
so he's also spending extra time in the film room.
A whole lot
looking at tendencies.
Yeah. And then also building good relationships with the people that's protecting me.
Yeah. Yep. Being a team. Was it teamwork? No, not teamwork. What's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know. Yeah.
You building camaraderie.
Camaraderie.
Yeah. That's the word I'm looking for. Camaraderie with your teammates. Because because if I'm going slow, I need some folks to protect me.
Absolutely. You know, and if I can win their confidence, you know, in regards to that, then they'll be willing to go the extra mile, you know, I believe, you know, so I'm gonna do some intangible things for you, you know, and I'm gonna encourage you a little bit differently, you know, and you know, and then that way, if I'm being protected, then I know I'll be able to sustain, you know, a lengthy career.
Yeah, so that kind of going a point that I was going to bring out. I was going to ask, what type of support system did Tom Brady have? And so, you know, you pretty much alluded right in there. So I got to have some type of support system within my team and a support system outside my team, because I made it in the league, but I got to sustain myself to stay in the league.
Yeah. And then on that level too, man, I mean, you got to have a little bit of luck, you know, because for him, you know,
timing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Timing is huge. Yeah,
absolutely. Because I mean, you know, him going to the franchise that he went to, you know, in regards to the Patriots and, you know, just being involved with that organization, you know, Tom Brady had a lot to do with turning it into a championship organization, but they had began to put the pieces in place, you know, from upper management all the way down to the players, you know, in order to build the type of franchise that they had, you know, for him to have the longevity that he had. You know, they surrounded him with a very, very good coaching staff. They surrounded him with, you know, the management and support that he needed. You know, I mean, he came in the situation as a number 2 quarterback. So he also got to learn, you know, from, you know, the quarterback that was before him, you know. So
I think it was Drew Bledsoe. So you gotta, so one of the keys is student athletes today, you got to be a student of the game. Do not get caught up into thinking that just because you had certain stats on one level, but to go to the next level, you got to be a student of the game.
In order to be a student of the game, you got to have humility. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you got to be humble.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he had to be humble. He had to have some type of humility in order to learn from Drew Bledsoe. You know, if I don't know where his locker was, you know, but I would think that his locker would have been right beside Drew Bledsoe. Yeah. So that way, you know, we are engaging in conversations. You know, hey, Drew, what you seeing out there? You know, and you know, how do you handle this type of defense? You know, how you handle a cover 3, you know what I mean? And how you handle, you know, this defensive lineman, and, you know, and what are his, superior moves, you know, his intricate moves, you know, that he likes to use when he's on the football field. You know, how can I buy me some more time when I'm in the pocket, you know, playing against this guy, as opposed to playing to that guy, you know, the next week, you know, in regards to my offensive lineman that you've played with, you know, for the past, you know, 6-7 years or so, you know, what is his tendencies, you know, and what did you have to do to compensate for, you know, the things that he lacked in certain areas? So that's the humility, you know, and being able to recognize your shortcomings, you know, and going to somebody, you know, to rectify those shortcomings, you know, for you to be able to have some success.
How can I strengthen a possible weakness or so-called lack of talent in a particular area? You know, I'm glad you mentioned that word humble, because there's a lot of student athletes, male, female, across sports, who don't recognize that a part of being athletically successful is being humble, and humble in the area of doing what great businesses do, highly productive people do, and highly successful businesses do. They do a SWOT analysis. So SWOT is a acronym for taking a look at what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what opportunities you have, and also the threats that's in your way. And only when you hit a certain level of humility will you fully analyze strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. If you're a student athlete or an athlete period, you can't just look at your strengths, because there's not one athlete that does everything well. Some of their talent ability might allow them to excel at a certain level, but you gotta know that I got strengths, I got weaknesses, there's opportunities that I can take advantage of to give me the advantage. And then I gotta look at the threats that's in my way that can stop me from being productive. And I think when you do have the mindset of being humble to say that I'm not great at everything, and even if I am very good in my sport, there's always things that I can improve on. That's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Because now, you know, you're willing to be honest. You know, and when you're honest with yourself, you know, it puts you in a situation to seek out, you know, seek out wisdom and seek out understanding, you know, pertaining to the situations that you're in.
And you know, here on the I Am Student Athlete podcast, me and my co-host Jay Keys, we practice what we preach at the end of the day. So I definitely got a story. Been in high school, playing football. When I was in high school, our 9th grade year, Jay, you remember, we was the last 9th grade at the junior high or middle school. So when we went to high school, we were at McKinley from 93 to 96. But that's when we had freshman team in football, a sophomore team, a JV team, and also varsity. So my 9th grade year, I played corner. But then once I go to the next level and I'm assessing the talent of the players that has come from 4 middle schools or 4 junior highs onto one team, I had to do a SWOT analysis. Like, I was nice to start at corner, but I'm looking at my strengths and I'm also looking at my weaknesses. And I'm like, hold on, I might need to shift to strong safety because I'm looking at the footwork of the two corners that's probably going 9 times out of 10 that's going to start on the sophomore team. So I was like, well, if I want to start, what defensive back position can I start at as quick as possible? And I said, you know what, I'm going to strong safety because number one, I didn't mind tackling. I had good footwork, but it wasn't as nice as the two corners. And so it takes a humble person to recognize that I can try to beat this guy out that's bigger than me. I'm talking about Chantel Lodge. He's bigger, taller. He becomes a Division I scholarship athlete, or I can move to a position that's going to get me on the field where I can excel. And so that SWOT analysis is huge. And I think if I would have been stubborn and just kept talking about what I did when I was in middle school on my team, and he came from another team, y'all was at Crenshaw, we was at Hartford. But if I would have tried to be stubborn and stay behind him because I played the right corner, I wouldn't have played.
Yeah. Yeah. And that takes maturity too. That's something, you know, for
or I would have played when we blew somebody out.
Right. But no, I mean, on a serious note, man, I mean, that's something to be able to realize that, man, you talking about 14, 15 years old, you know, to be able to actually sit back and, you know, analyze the entire situation, you know, see the big picture.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of 14, 15-year-olds can't do that because we have tunnel vision at that age. You know, you only concerned about you know, your wants, and that's it, you know, at that age.
Yep. And I want to, especially high school student athletes, Jay just said, you know, that's a hard thing at a young age to do a SWOT analysis, but I'm not bragging or saying because I did it and I get some extra V-Bucks or extra points because I did that. What I'm saying is if I did it at a young age, to be honest, and I think I had here's the advantage I think I had. We played in Canton, Ohio, home of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Our high school games is sitting in the same stadium where they play the Pro Football Hall of Fame game. I watched so much football, it opened the door, but then I also had cousins who played before me, and I would have some conversations with them.
Yeah.
So it was a keep it 100 sessions about your skills, your talents, and your abilities. But I'm still saying, even if I did it, I think athletes today can do it as well. Being very, very brutally honest with themselves, their gifts, their abilities, and also their weaknesses.
Yeah, Les, I would actually like to hear you speak on, you know, how you was able to handle constructive criticism, because that's what a lot of the young folks run into. They think that you hating. It ain't about hating, you know, it's about being able to accept constructive criticism and then applying it so that way you can be better.
Yeah. So here's how I say I was able to accept constructive criticism. Number one, I recognize the truth that there's a first string and a second string. So maybe somebody thought I would start off with a different type of answer. I realized that the coach, my defensive back coach and the head coach, had control on whether I was a starter or not, whether it was a sophomore game, JV, or varsity. And I recognize that there's a depth chart that if I don't put the work in, I'm not going to be in the spot that I want to be in. But I also recognize that there's levels at an early age. I accepted that there's levels in competition. There's level in athleticism. And so I took the humble route and asked some folks that was older than me. Like I had a cousin, my cousin Don Martin played strong safety. He got a scholarship to Illinois State. So, and he was 6'6". And so I took the mindset, hey, whatever he gonna tell me, I am going to listen, because he proved in the stadium that I was trying to get into, and he proved it by earning a scholarship. So whatever he tells me, I'm not going to be stubborn. I'm not going to argue with. I am going to listen and do, because he did what I was trying to do, is to have a full 10-game season.
Yeah.
So it opens the door of just listening and being a student of the game.
Right.
And know that it's coming from a place of he's trying to help me, or the coach is trying to position me for success, not hate. So it becomes, how are you filtering or processing the information? If you are a person that goes into situations thinking that when someone says something, that they're doing it to tear me down versus to build me up. So the key word is, you have to be open for constructive criticism. Constructive means to build up. Destructive means to tear you down. Yes. So if I am open to constructive criticism to build me up, and I have a good relationship with this coach or my cousin or anybody else, and I know they got my best interest, and they're coming with information to build me up and not tear me down, you just got to respect it.
Yeah.
It's the same as trying to play football on a football field without a helmet. No, you better put a helmet on. I don't care how many weights you lift. You better have some shoulder pads on. You better have some thigh boards on, because you need this equipment to protect you. Yeah. So in the same way, constructive criticism is mental equipment that you need in order to get the best productivity and get on that field and do what you really want to do.
Yeah, that's good, man. I'm glad you broke it down like that, man. That's good.
Yeah, man. I don't know that I always looked at, there's some things we can struggle with and there's some things that we don't have to struggle with. And I think student athletes who struggle with what I just said, it has something to do possibly with some things that you got to deal with off the field. As far as how you process information, how you process how your relationships with people. Because if I say I really want to do this, I also got to be willing to
be coachable
and do the things that I need to. I'm gonna say this word that a lot of people don't want to hear and parents don't want to hear. You have to please your coach enough to say, that this kid is going to be a starter or get X amount of minutes.
Yeah.
And ramming heads with the person. Now, don't get me wrong. As long as the relationship is cool, there's a difference if someone is doing something intentionally to do something wrong. But you have to please this person enough to say, you get the blessings to start, or you get the blessings to rotate or get X amount of minutes a night.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I would like to say that, you got to do enough to earn their trust.
Yeah. Yep. That's another way. Blessing, trust.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Because
they got to be comfortable, because their job is on the line. That's what a lot of student athletes don't realize. This coach's job is on the line, whether it's high school, college, or pros.
There it is. Period.
Would you say, Jay, ain't nothing else to talk about on that one? Yeah, man. And you have to, because you're definitely playing a team sport, even if it's an individual sport like wrestling, you better respect that opponent or you're going to get slammed all over the mat. Right. But definitely in a team sport, even in an individual sport, you got coaches. You got to respect and know that I don't know everything. And that's my wish for a lot of I'm seeing a lot of student athletes who could get more playing time, could start or even position themselves for scholarships and go to the next level if they would simply just do a SWOT analysis and say that, hey, I got to look at all the things I need to do to go to the next level.
Get out your own way, young fellas.
Yep.
Young ladies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just get out of your own way.
Just get out your own way, man. And once you get out get out of your own way, it opens the door so that you can develop the work ethic, the daily, the weekly, the year-round work ethic, so that you can get what you say you want to get. And then it's almost like you also have to get to a point where you got to accept your athletic ability. I'll just use this in an example in college or the pros, man, especially for the game of basketball. It's some guys have a great career being a 6th, 7th man.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you touch on that basketball analogy with the 6th, 7th man. But like, there's dudes that earn a great living being a 6th and 7th man. So speak on that, Jay.
Nah, I'm actually trying to remember the guy's name that actually played at Syracuse. He came off the bench as a 6th man. I think he had went to the Cavs for a minute. I know he played for the Miami Heat. I can't think of his name
I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. But talk about him figuratively though.
Yeah, I mean, man, he ended up having a good career. You know, I mean, he was one of the leading scorers on the team. Probably averaged about 15 points a game or so. Ended up getting drafted, and then ended up making some noise, in the NBA. Man, I wish I could remember his name, man.
Yeah. So even though you can't remember his name, there's been players in multiple sports throughout history that wasn't the starter, but contributed to the team as if they were a starter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that, I think that goes back to the whole TB 199 thing. I don't always got to be the best to have a great career and a great run.
Right.
And that's hard. So we I think student athletes gotta get off of social media sometime, or the hype of where the social media says that you have to be the very best at everything. When at the end of the day, yeah, you got to put that work in, but depending upon where you at, you don't have to be the very best in order to have a best career path in sports.
Yeah. And determination plays a big part in that. I mean, especially
determination and persistence.
You thinking about being, you talk about being a 6th man or a 7th man, you're still determined, to prove that, hey, I'm just as qualified, even though I might come off the bench or I'm not, a part of the starting 5 or whatever, but hey, I'm just as qualified, and the minutes that I get, I take advantage of those opportunities. I come ready to play. When I'm sitting on the sideline, I'm mentally in tune to what's going on. I'm locked in, I'm focused, I'm cheering on my teammates. I'm not just sitting on the bench, with an attitude, feeling, sorry for myself or pouting, because now you're in a negative mindset, so, that negativity, it's going to contribute itself, but it's going to contribute itself in a negative way, But as long as I continue to stay locked in and I'm staying positive, then I'm going to project positive results, So, that's that positive energy. Positive energy produces positive results. Negative energy produces negative results.
Yeah.
So that's the mindset that you have to have, if you're a 6th man or a 7th man, whenever my number is called, I'm going to be ready. I'm going to contribute and I'm going to do my thing. And I'm going to prove to the world that, I'm just as qualified to be a starter.
Yep. And I think there's, I always trying to interject life skills. So no matter how someone take it, there's what's called the serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, have courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. So, it is the serenity prayer starts off with God. But if someone can't hear it that way, you just need the serenity to accept the things that you cannot change, have courage to change the things that you can, and wisdom to know the difference. So there's some things about athletic ability you can't change.
Right.
You know, Tom couldn't change that he ran a 5.140.
Right.
But there's also a bunch of quarterbacks who ran 4.4s, 4.5, 4.6s, but they only lasted 1 to 3 years in the league.
Right.
You know, certain stats you may not have, and you can't change that. But one of the things you can change is how you improve within the system and the game that you play in. So, you know, you got to look at what you can't change, but what are the things that you can change? And then it takes a humble person. It takes a person who understands, you know, you got to know the difference between the things that you can and cannot change.
Right. Yep.
And I think that was one of the things that when I made the shift going into 10th grade from moving from corner to strong safety, I'm like, I just got to be honest myself.
Right.
And so corners are a different type of athlete than safeties. There's some athletes that can play both. Right. But if I want to get 1st through 4 down snaps, you better do anything that's necessary to get on the court.
Right.
And so it's just some stuff you can't change. But when you know the difference between the two, man, you don't know what levels of success that you're going to have.
Right.
So you got to be
do
confident.
Things that play to your strength.
Yeah. Yeah. Because lightweight at 5'7", then 106, almost 100, only 60 pounds. Technically, if I really want to be honest, and this is something to go to another level of honesty, I really was a linebacker. Like if I had a bigger body, I really could have been a linebacker and balled out. But because of the size and athletic ability, the best defensive back position for me was strong safety, which is a slash extra linebacker, especially in the 4-3 defense that we played.
Right.
And so it goes back also to, you know, just understanding your game and understanding your ability and just put the work in. Don't worry about it. And just know that if I commit to the process, there's going to be results that I'm going to get.
Right. Yeah.
So Jay, man, this is the part where we call it John Stockton, where we're going to throw some dimes to assist these young student athletes here, man. What's some parting words that you want to give student athletes, no matter what sport they in? We trying to drop some dimes on them. If y'all don't know who John Stockton is, you better Google. You're just the Google and YouTube generation. He's one of the NBA's leading assist leaders. He was always dropping dimes. So what's some dimes you want to drop on him today, man?
Man,
or
just
some
be humble.
Extra ones. You already been throwing some. So
yeah, I mean, just be humble. Be willing to accept constructive criticism, because when you're able to do that, then you're able to make assessments. And then when you're able to make assessments, then you can make the adjustments needed, you know, to begin to perfect your craft. You know, we're always in search of perfection. But how can we get to perfection if we don't identify the things that need to be perfected? So, you know, when you're open to constructive criticism, you know, that opens you up to hearing what people around you see that you might not see. You know, we know that vision is 20/20, you know, and then it also is 360 degrees, you know, and sometimes we don't have that panoramic view, you know, but when we got good people around us, you know, that's willing to offer advice, you know, and see things that we don't see, then we can take that information and we can apply it and you know, and become the best product, you know, that we can possibly be.
Yeah, man. So the dime I'm gonna drop on them is piggybacking on what you just said, using a football analogy. On the football field, a player has a certain view. There's a whole bunch of things that a player can see on the field, but then a coach or a player that's not in the game can have a certain view from the sideline.
Right.
But then someone with knowledge of the game that's in the stands can have a particular view. But then the coaches that's in the press box, that's sitting up higher, that see the whole field, has a different view as well. So my dimes that I want to give is, don't be afraid to do a SWOT analysis. Look at your strengths, look at your weaknesses, but always know that there's weaknesses that can be improved upon. Look at the opportunity and look at the threats. And if you do that analysis and take a viewpoint of someone that sits higher, meaning where that has more knowledge of the game, and look at them as a coach in the press box and be open to their constructive criticism, you have nothing to lose on benefiting from going through that process. So that's the dime I want to drop on student athletes today, man.
For sure. And that guy's name was Deion Waiters. I had to look that up.
Was
man.
it? Okay. Now that you said that,
I had to get that, man. We need a who Shaq and them be calling on, man, when they need to find something out. What's the dude's name on TNT?
I forget his name, but they got a whole team of folks.
Right.
I got earbuds in and I'm listening to you, but they got earbuds in, people feeding them information.
Right.
But yeah, Deion Waiters.
Like, put it on the t-shirt.
Yeah. Yeah, man. But also, man, I was trying to close it out, but you said they call people, Shaq is a commentator, a sports analysis, but they got people that give them information so that they can perform. Yeah. So it all goes back around. You got to have a team of folks. You got to have a support system if you want to be great. No matter what level of athlete that you are, you got to have a different perspective. You got to have a different perspective other than your own so that you can get the best out of your performance. Student athlete world, we out of time, but certainly not out of message. This is the I Am Student Athlete podcast. And remember that greatness is a process and you are more than an athlete. Peace.